Donald Trump yet again threatening a third-party run for president if he fails to win the Republican nomination. Remember now, like all the other candidates on the Republican side, they signed a loyalty pledge vowing not to do that. Trump is saying the RNC is not treating him like the others.
Some of the college kids sold their tickets to the special interest for good money. They made a couple of bucks. I don't blame them. But the RNC does a terrible job. A terrible job. And just remember what I said. Remember in this room. I signed a pledge, but it's a double-edged pledge. And as far as I'm concerned, they're in default of their pledge.
So Fox News media analyst Howard Kurtz here to talk about that and a few other things. Host of Media Buzz. Howard, how you doing? Good morning there in Washington. His claim is that the audience at the debate, they kind of stocked the pond, right? Is that the best way to describe it?
That's the claim. And there were a lot of Rubio and Jeb partisans who were kind of disruptive with all their cheering and booing. But this is a brushback pitch against the RNC by Donald Trump. Let them think that he just might be thinking about bolting the party. In reality, and I've confirmed this with Trump sources this morning, he has no intention of running as an independent at this point. And why would he? He is leading the Republican race by a lot, as he would say. And if the polls hold up and he wins South Carolina on Saturday, he'll be leading by even more.
Okay, now, Howie, you cover media for a living. You've done it for years, right? You know reporters are into a headline. It sells newspapers, it gets clicks online, et cetera, et cetera. In one day alone yesterday, Trump was pushing this story. He was also pushing the story about the Iraq War. And he was also pushing the story about Ted Cruz being a liar. And I think he threatened perhaps a lawsuit against Ted Cruz as well. What is the strategy behind Trump to get reporters to move toward the next shiny object on his campaign? And ultimately, Howard, in 2016, does that work?
If there's one thing we've learned in the 8 months of Donald Trump's candidacy, Bill, it is that he has a mastery of the news cycle. But right now it's kind of on steroids. So as you point out, he goes after Jeb and he goes after George W., both on the Iraq War and on 9/11. And he goes after Ted Cruz and says he might sue Cruz for allegedly not being a natural-born citizen. And meanwhile, he's saying other things. And so what's he doing? It's like a buffet. If you don't like the hors d'oeuvres, he's giving you a steak over here, maybe some nice desserts. He generates all these stories, a main story, a sidebar story. Cruz reacts, Rubio reacts, Jeb reacts. George W., in a way, reacted in his appearance with his brother in South Carolina, all of which clogs up the communications channels. Every single story in some way is about Trump.
So we wait to see if it works. Worked in New Hampshire.
The pundits are always skeptical. Oh, he's gone too far this time.
Totally.
He said some things you don't say in a Republican debate. He's sounding like a Democrat. But it has worked so far.
1,000%. Another topic here related. MSNBC will have a bug in the corner of their screen at noon yesterday promoting the Bush rally in Charleston, South Carolina. And that network will also take the Trump rallies live, sometimes from beginning to end, sometimes not, sometimes they dump out. CNN to, I would say, arguably to a similar degree, but perhaps not end to end. What is it about those networks that is now, opening the door to these Trump rallies to make sure that more people can perhaps view them and see them? Because it would appear that as a candidate, you could call up a network and argue, hey, you're not taking my rally, you can't do that. That's not fair game. Now, what explains why they're doing that?
Well, it's a pretty simple answer, which is a Donald Trump rally can move the ratings needle for these other networks in a way that apparently their own programming can't. Now, look, at the beginning when Trump was a phenomenon, we all did it. There were Trump rallies on Fox. But now I see a lot more of it, particularly on MSNBC, preempting their own programming to show Donald Trump. Now, you could say, OK, he deserves more time because he's the front runner. But, of course, it's blatantly unfair to Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and even the Democrats who are having rallies that are not getting the live coverage. And this is part of why people think some of the media are promoting Trump or in the tank for Trump. But, of course, he's more entertaining than the other candidates. Still, we have a journalistic responsibility to bring some semblance of balance to the coverage.
But ultimately, your point is Trump stays on the offense. That's the way you dominate media. Do I hear you right?
Trump stays on the offense. We all debate whether he's gone too far, and sometimes he does say things that push the envelope. But still, Trump is the story, and the others are reacting, and that suits him just fine.
All right, Howard, thanks. We'll see you on Sunday Media Buzz. Okay, Howard Kurtz there in Washington, D.C.